Christian churches today continue to teach and support the 10% tithe as a standard for giving. Although this Old Testament Mosaic law was mandated for the Israelites by God to support the priests, the Levites, and the poor, Leviticus 27:30. And so God asked the Israelites this question: will a man rob God by withholding annually the required 10% tithe that was mandated, that was intended to support the priesthood and the poor? Numbers 18:26. The 10% tithe under the Mosaic law consisted of grain, livestock, and fruit to support the Levites that had no land of their own. And if they were obedient to the Levitical law, God would open up the windows of heaven, Malachi 3:10, meaning opening for water, according to the New Strong's Exhaustive Concordance of the Bible, 699, sending life-giving rain to end drought, yielding a massive harvest. This 10% tithe was not mandated to the Gentiles or to the Christians, but Paul said to the early church believers that on the first day of the week, each one of you should set aside a sum of money in keeping with his income, saving it up so that when I come, no collections will have to be made. Then, when I arrive, I will give letters of introductions to the men you approve and send them with your gift to Jerusalem. 1 Corinthians 16:2. Jesus Christ, he fulfilled the Mosaic law, and although most Jewish people continue to follow the 10% tithe law, yet still God's grace and promises remain steadfast for the Jewish people despite their frequent disobedience. Romans 11:30. So as a believer, under grace, if you give 10% to the church under obligation, you are attempting to follow the requirements of the Mosaic law, and this is legalism, which is strict, literal, and adherence to rules and laws because you are given out of a sense of mandatory obligation or law rather than cheerful, spirit-led generosity. 2 Corinthians 9:7 teaches that every man according as he proposes in his heart, so let him give.